Hello. In this video, I'd like to introduce you to something that I've put together that I hope can help to bring America to a place we've never been before. I've put together a system that has questions and it's a questionnaire with a checklist built into it. I'm issuing this checklist from my private court. It's been several months and I've been working on trying to get justice I'm issuing this checklist from a private court called LaHoo's Court that's seeking justice for my cousin Donald Brian LaHoo, seeking justice for myself, as well as others who are in the similar situation where we are finding it difficult to afford justice, to be able to have faith in the justice that we get. So I have a bit of a programming background and I have a little bit of a technical kind of legal background, and only from my own research. And so I put together what I call the AATMAG Private Law Act. And what that system does is, from my testing, I tested it before I put together the system, and it worked better than expected. So I know the system works. So how to extrapolate that and make it completely effective and accomplish a goal? The goal is to preserve my rights. I want to be able to walk into the world. I haven't really stepped into the world since before this whole situation with lockdowns and the like. So I see things on videos of what's going on, but I haven't really stepped into the world except on one occasion when I had to go and purchase something that I really needed. Because I don't go out of the house much. So when I used the system there, I only had, the basic system is using a counter offer as a barrier to block people who want to prevent you from accessing your rights. Whoa, stop, you can't access your rights. Hand them a written counter offer saying that you will hear their complaint upon payment of a fee that's beyond their ability to pay. I don't want to hear your complaint, but if you want me to hear your complaint, this is the fee. It's beyond your ability to pay. I don't want to hear your complaint. These are my rights. I'm not surrendering them. I don't consent to these proceedings, and at that point, by issuing the counter offer, a written counter offer, you've presented a barrier that didn't exist before. Now it's up to the opposing party to respond. Does the opposing party have a right or a lawful cause against you? If not, then it's your time. Your time is your livelihood. Are you required to surrender it? The checklist allows you to together explore that question. Is the initiating party behaving lawfully? Are they enforcing a law, or are they enforcing something that's not a law? That is, has the effect of taking away your rights. It does no good to argue about it because you haven't presented a barrier that a counteroffer, a written counteroffer, can provide. The written counteroffer provides a barrier that says, hey, whoa, I'm not surrendering any rights. I don't want to hear your complaint. I just want to continue on my way peacefully, and I want to leave in peace and leave you in peace. Thank you. Have a nice day. If the initiating party wishes to continue, then the checklist allows you, effectively, you are a Posse member. The AATMAG Private Law Act is a call for Posse, not to run off and chase felons, but to go about your daily life, and when approached by someone who that you believe is committing an offense that is requiring you to surrender your rights without the other party having the right or lawful cause for doing so, then you have a duty and an obligation to stand up for your rights. Now, this is a new system, a new law that I just passed, that I just produced. So, although it has been tested, it's not tested. It is cumbersome in that this is what I'm carrying currently, and I can handle two at varying levels. I can handle 2 or 3 offenders. But the system that includes questions and check marks with a Y or an N that allows you to place a check mark on the position that you're in your questioning, so that if you get off track, you know where you left off. And the Y or the N is to be able to quickly document what the response was that you got from the initiating party. The benefit there is if the initiating party is genuinely trying to commit crimes against you by denying you your rights without having a right or a lawful cause to do so, the AATMAG Private Law Act program allows you to keep an incident report, beginning with the time that the incident occurred, who the party was. Prevents you from answering questions, but but gives you the opportunity to ask the right question at the right time to get the result that you want. The result that you want is to just simply to be on your way. But with the AATMAG Private Law Act checklist questionnaire system, it gives you a little bit more. It gives you the opportunity to identify offenders and to call forth those who may have put those offenders up to committing the offense, to try to get to the source of the problem, to eliminate the offense from occurring at all. So by creating an on-site incident report, the AATMAG Private Law Act allows you to stay within the law. Ultimately, your counteroffer is to hear the complaint for a fee that the initiating party cannot afford. But if the initiating party forces you to hear the complaint and to respond by providing counseling services, private law counseling services, on why you believe the crime is not being committed by you, but rather is being committed against you, then you have a right to be paid for your counseling service if those services are rendered after being triggered by the initiating party. Why should you have to provide your counseling services for free? Now, this material is online at guitarsuspensonsolutions.com, and it's available for free. So although the counseling for the initiating party is for a fee that they cannot afford, by going to guitarsuspensonsolutions.com, you can get it for free. That's a 180-page document. The AATMAG program comes with a number of components. The first document that you would use when you first contact an initiating party who you believe is trying to deny you your rights without right or lawful cause, a first contact counteroffer document that you begin with. As you progress with an initiating party who wishes to, when you've explained to the initiating party that you don't consent to their proceedings and you don't accept their offer to contract, then you move on to the next document, which has to do with getting the identity and recording the status of that subject who initiated the offense against you. Those who witness crime may make a private arrest of those who committed that crime. Through the stages of detention and arrest, these documents allow you, the identity and status of subject's document allows you to record the status. Is the subject arrested? Is the subject detained? Has the subject detained you or arrested you? Again, it's an ongoing incident report that allows you to record the incident and, if necessary, to make the arrest. The crime that, if you're familiar with LaHoo's Court is a court of competent jurisdiction on matters of government-enforced common law barratry, which is when someone stirs up suits and quarrels, but they don't have a right or a lawful reason, a lawful cause for doing so. That's a crime. In America, under the law of nations, the American people are the king. So disorderly conduct, disrupting the king's peace, can be a serious offense. Barratry that causes human death is consistent with a Class A crime under statute. Barratry is a common law crime that's, if it were punishable under statute, would be equal to a Class A crime, which would result in a 10-year prison sentence or more. Another document that's contained within the AATMAG PLA program helps to identify and record additional charges that can occur when an initiating party, imagine if an initiating party is claiming to be enforcing a law that you have allegedly violated, when in fact you are the victim of the initiating party who's actually perpetrating a fraud against you by not actually having a right or a lawful cause to interrupt your freedoms. That would bring in a host of other crimes. If the initiating party was falsely enforcing a law that's not a law, and they call upon another party to come in to aid them or to use force of arms against you, that brings on other crimes that can be recorded in this other document called Criminal Charges Associated with Denying Me My Natural Rights. Another document that's contained within the AATMAG PLA program is parties with an interest. If a initiating party wishes to have you hear their complaint and they wish to pay your fee, then you can record them in this document that's titled Parties with an Interest. So you know who's being counseled and who's paying for the fee. There can be situations where a party does not want counseling and is refusing to pay for your counseling, but that's up to them to walk away. If they trigger the need for you to provide that counseling, it's like a carpenter being forced to build a house, and then the party who benefits from the house decides that they don't want to pay. If the party benefits from your services as a competent source on barratry, then you have a right to be paid for that under contract law. If you have handed a written contract to the party and they understand that your terms and they have no lawful means for interrupting your freedoms, then why shouldn't they pay your fee? If you're required to provide counseling after hearing their complaint. I want to go shopping. I want to be on my way. I didn't stop you, you stopped me. Pay my fee or go away. Without the counter offer, it's, oh, well, you did this and you did that and you can't do this and you can't do that. But if you say, do you want me to hear your complaint? it all stops. Another document in the AATMAG PLA program has to do with initiating parties who go beyond phase 1 of initiating contact, hearing that you don't wish their services or their offer, and accepting that and letting you go about being free, which is what you want, which is the whole purpose of the program. Not to fight, not to create violence, but to have two parties come together to a meeting of the minds to understand just, are you right or am I right? I respect you for respecting the law and trying to enforce law against me that you believe is true and correct. But if in the course of our discussion we find out that it's the opposite, in fact, the initiating party is committing serious of common law crimes against me, under the definition of common law and statutory law, the two are not equal. The statutory law is contrary to the common law, which was meant to protect the lives and the rights and the goods and property of people. Statutory law is more doing the same but for protecting government property and regulating employee conduct, discipline, administrative things. There is another document within the AATMAG Private Law Act that allows an offender who's gone beyond, they have committed the crime in your presence, but they didn't do it so much knowingly and willingly. If they're not a threat offender, not a perpetrator, not someone who's going to continue perpetrating, and if they're willing to admit they were wrong and to stop committing that wrong, then this document allows them to bow out of being arrested for committing the crime against you. Hopefully you as a Posse member using the AATMAG Private Law Act. There are a couple additional levels. If someone is proven to be an offender, can they be reformed? This document allows you to establish those other two levels so as to move forward so that each party knows their rights and responsibilities. Again, all these things have, these new documents have not been tested. I have tested the using a counter offer. I walked into the store, I walked into the store on the first day, I handed them my public notice indicating that what they were doing was wrong, that it was a serious crime against common law, against the rights of people. And they were not fully implementing the law as instructed. And they accepted my public notice, and I had to return the next day and everyone was far more strict. They were all complying with what I had identified to them as being unenforceable under law. No one challenged that. So when I walked in the second day, they were all complying with that which I had proven is not law. And they instructed that I would not get service if I did not comply with that which I had already demonstrated as not being law. So the attendant said, well, I'm not going to wait on you, but I'll try to get someone else who will wait on you. And the second one that came, I understood to be more of a manager, supervisor, possible owner of the store, who said the same thing. We are not going to wait on you if you don't comply with that which I had demonstrated is not the law. So I handed the manager, they were behind masks, so I didn't know who they were, but I handed the authoritative figure my counter offer and saying, I'd be happy to hear your complaint if you want to pay my fee. I really just came here to do some shopping, and I don't really want to hear your complaint. And the manager said to me, well, I will call the police if you don't comply with that which I had demonstrated, in fact, is not the law and I'm not required to comply with. So I told the manager that he was welcome to call the police so long as he understood that he would be solidifying my contract and be responsible for paying my fee. Immediately I got service. I got what I wanted and I walked out free. But I had to go through that. So I've been working month after month after month and getting a lot of, rightly so, it's tough on the family life. But this is so important that if I go to exercise my right and I'm prevented by an initiating party who wishes, the contract, right? They want to initiate a contract that offers nothing in consideration. That's what I said to the manager. Your contract says to me that if I surrender my unalienable rights with nothing in return, I can access my rights that I have in common with the rest of the general population, which is nonsensical. And if what you're enforcing, in fact, is not law, but a violation of my rights, then that's a violation of the King's peace, which is, according to tradition, a capital offense. I was able to get service, but I wasn't able to get justice. So as presiding judge over LaHoo's court, my cousin Donald Brian LaHoo was falsely convicted in 2 jury trials and wrongly arrested for not wanting to pay the fine when the weight of the evidence was against both jury trials. And that's what you will learn when you go to counseling. But again, you don't have to pay a fee that is more than you can afford. You can get that counseling for free at guitarsuspensonsolutions.com. Another document that I put in there is if you have an initiating party denying you your rights, and you start going through the checklist process and identifying a character who is not reformable and refuses to contact their superiors, right? Because you want to give them a chance. I don't want to lock you up, buddy. I don't want to arrest you. I can arrest you privately. I don't want to do that. I just want to exercise my rights. Step out. But if you have a party that is persistent, you should speak to their superior to keep them from getting into more serious trouble. And again, to initiate a posse, as a posse member, you want to initiate and continue the investigation until you identify the source of the offending conduct. And if the party that's initiating it is refusing to provide their superiors, another document included is a writ of habeas corpus demanding that party to bring the decision maker to you, to your private court, to testify. If that party does not wish to do that, then you have every right to initiate an arrest, obstruction of justice, and a number of other crimes. All of these cases and laws and things that I've cited, you will learn in the counseling portion of the documentation. It's 180 pages currently. But it provides the citations. As a question is asked, citations are available demonstrating why the question is asked and what the legal purpose of that is. But the counseling document is titled Counseling Checklist and Letter of Understanding. That, again, you can get for free. You don't have to pay a fee that's more than you can pay, more than you can afford. It's available free online at guitarsuspensonsolutions.com. Another document that I put together, again, these documents have not been tested, but do your own research. If they work for you, I would use them. Hopefully the idea is you just want to be able to be left alone and exercise your rights, but as you go through life, if somebody comes upon you, as you go through life, you have to determine when you believe that your rights are being violated. And the initiating party violating those rights doesn't have the right or a lawful cause for doing so, then you should have the right to stand up. And most people don't know anything about protecting their rights. And we're in a time in America where we're all waiting for someone else to make it all right. AATMAG PLA gives you the opportunity. I believe you would want to assemble a team because it's cumbersome. But nobody's going to violate your rights if I did my job correctly. I need feedback. I need support. People who can tell me if I've done something illegal. I don't believe I have because, again, it's not me saying it. It's me looking at a legal citation and applying that to a proper place in the event of where you're being offended, so that nobody gets in trouble. Nobody needs violence. There's no need to argue back and forth. This is the law. If you disagree, tell me so that I can research it and verify. So, in the event that one is arrested, a posse member is arrested, I put together a writ of habeas to present to a police officer who's trying to arrest you. Your writ of habeas corpus demand for immediate release. It may not get you out, but if you can document and verify that it was given, this has to be brought to a judge immediately. Because as a posse member, you will have read all the material. You will have gone through the counseling and you will understand the law. And it will only cost you your time. But it's a crazy idea. But once I realized that counter offer stopped the offender in their tracks, and I was able to get service, what's the harm? How can I take that and extrapolate that so that everyone can understand what I understand? And if my understanding is not correct, then to demonstrate where I'm not correct and to correct that understanding so that we can always preserve our rights and not have to wait for the beacon of some figure, some charismatic figure to come out of the dust and save us. We can save ourselves every day. But again, if you know there's a problem and you've got a team of people where someone can use the camera to record, maybe two people record two different angles, someone to ask the question, someone to hand the paperwork. What is the purpose of it? Well, if you can identify behavior that is common law crime, I tried to report these crimes to law enforcement, a uniformed law enforcement, and they refused to take it. Now, the reason might vary, but the real reason that I've identified is jurisdiction. Common law, barratry is a common law crime. Common law is the law of the people. It's not written. The common law comes from Magna Carta, which was written by the king. In America, the people are the kings. So when they write their Magna Cartas, it's private law. If you're going to stay in my house, you have to follow my private law. If you want me to hear your complaint, pay my fee. That's my private law. So by using that counteroffer, you create a barrier that you never had the opportunity by yelling and screaming and arguing and waiting to go to a jurisdiction that you don't want to go to. So if they seek to arrest you, immediately fill out and give them your AATMAG PLA, Writ of Habeas Corpus, demand for immediate release, saying, I'm a competent jurisdiction on the matter of barratry. and there is an offense being committed against me. I witnessed the crime. I'm the victim of the crime. I'm competent in understanding the crime, and I'm making a private arrest under common law because it's a common law crime. Now, what do we do with them after we arrest them? Again, we have the AATMAG reform document, where if they can be reformed, we have them sign a document, we make a public notice where they have admitted wrong, made amends, and moved on. I made a mistake, I'm sorry. The member has the member needs to keep a public record to ensure transparency and integrity. If you have an offender who cannot be reformed, and their punishment is such that it needs a tribunal, there is an AATMAG PLA common law trust for managing assets that, if they have to be surrendered, can be recorded and used to compensate Posse members, and the main goal is to get justice for those who can't afford justice. My cousin, who was wrongly convicted in 2 jury trials when both judges committed offenses that you will find demonstrated in their prima facie testimony, trial court transcripts, demonstrating that they menaced his defense, they menaced his trial, the weight of the evidence was against conviction, and other evidence came out after that, if the jury was aware of and they had a right to know, could have changed the outcome. Another AATMAG PLA document has to do with instructions on how to use the program. It gives ideas on, the checklist is really just for your benefit. When things occur that you don't expect, that offend you, things can happen quickly. They can get out of hand. People can become injured or die. AATMAG PLA doesn't want that. It wants to ensure that everybody understands what's going on. Some people are put up to doing things and paid to do those things, and will do those things regardless because they don't know any better. Others will do it intentionally to harm. AATMAG PLA helps preserve the rights while identifying bad behavior, keeping a record of it, and then having a system of eliminating those offenders from society. How do you join? How do you become a Posse member? Read all of the documentation, including this other AATMAG PLA document called a Writ of Attaint. The Writ of Attaint is issued on behalf of Donald LaHoo, myself, others who cannot get justice because of the expense, the complexity, The final document of the AATMAG Private Law Act is a Writ of Attaint that's issued against 2 wrongful jury trial criminal convictions that were menaced by the courts. And that is demonstrated in the testimony of 2 judges. And you will find that in the counseling letter of understanding document. Again, that's 180 pages that if you read through that, you will understand your rights in a way that you have never understood them before. And you may not remember everything, and that's why a checklist. But again, it's so big and so cumbersome, I haven't really tested it out yet. But I'm hoping that you are tired of waiting for some charismatic figure to come back sometime in the future when you need relief today. AATMAG PLA.
The Justice Files. The Justice Files. The Justice Files. The Justice Files. You got no damn right. The Justice Files.